What is up, all you saints and sinners? Welcome to a brand new episode of Confessions of a DIY Musician. I am your host, Ryan Argas, and I am joined by my two very best friends, Todor Brinijev and Eric Summers-Araya.
What's happening?
And in this episode today, we are going to be talking about preparing for tour because we are going on tour. That's right, you heard it here, folks. We are going on tour starting in March. We're going to be playing a bunch of different cities from Austin, Texas, to Nashville, to West Chicago, to Columbus, to Indianapolis, to Appleton, to Binghamton, New York. There's a bunch of new dates that are coming up to you in the spring. So make sure you go to marinacityband.com and check out those dates to see if we're coming to a city near you. And chances are we are. That's our plan for 2025.
Yeah, we're going to London. We're going to Berlin.
You know what I love?
We're going to Adelaide, Perth.
Yes, we're going. Yes,
Sydney.
Oof. This is what you got to do. You got to manifest these things.
Manifest
you have to manifest these things, and that is what we're doing. So, if you are sitting here and you're watching our YouTube or you're listening to on our Spotify podcast, you know right here that we are preparing for tour. And not only are we preparing for tour, but specifically, our first few dates are actually South by Southwest, unofficial South by Southwest. And if you're not familiar with what that is in Austin, Texas. It's an annual festival that happens for all the booming music industry. A bunch of industry execs go down there and they just listen to a bunch of new up-and-coming artists. They used to be like no big artists, but we did this about 13 years ago and Lady Gaga was playing. I think Justin Timberlake had a showcase. But typically it's smaller artists that are trying to get their name out there, and the whole town comes out. And on top of that, a bunch of industry execs. So we are really excited to get down there because, like I just previously mentioned, it's been 13 years since we were down there for our first ever tour.
You know, I remember when we went down there.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was so cool.
Eric and I have been doing this shit for a very, very long time, but so has Todor. But what's actually kind of crazy is something that I didn't realize. Just a little tidbit for those at home. This would be the third time that we're going down to South by Southwest. And every single time we've gone down there, we've had a different lead guitar player.
Wait, that's actually crazy.
It's the kiss of death, dude.
Wow. Oh my God.
We're going to come back. We're going to be like, you know, Todor,
Well,
I don't think
it's like this is the last time we're going there.
So what are we preparing for South by Southwest? We'll talk a little bit about South by Southwest before we go on just a general preparing for tour. Now, South by Southwest is different because it's a bunch of noise that's happening. There are a bunch of small venues or bars that are having shows literally from dusk till dawn, or dawn to dusk as well. Literally all day, there are bands performing multiple times a day throughout all these different venues on this one strip in Austin, Texas. So what do we have to do to prepare ourselves for it? The last time we were in South by Southwest actually was fine, but the first time we went down there was crazy. Now, Eric remembers this because it was the first time we ever went on tour. And I'm just going to glaze over it really quick because there's so much to talk about for this. But it's really important for you who maybe if you've never toured before, do not pay to play. Do not pay to play. Now, if you are going to pay to play for any reason, make sure that it is in a massive return on investment. Make sure that if you are going to pay whatever, $5,000 to be on a tour, you know that you're going to make $10,000. You're going to do something else. Otherwise, don't do it because the minute you do it, everyone sees you as someone who pays to play and they just want you to keep doing it.
and also have it in writing, have a contract,
Have a contract and everything.
paper
Now,
trail.
the reason why you don't pay to play, the reason why you always have a contract if you're going to do those things is because we are your prime example right here, Marina City. Back in 2012 or 2013,
2012.
we were going on our first tour. And as we were going to go on our first tour, it was in South by Southwest. We paid a guy $1,400 to book us gigs in South by Southwest, about 3 or 4 of them. We drove all the way down to South by Southwest. It took us about 24 hours. And when we got down there, we decided we're going to go check out all the venues that we're going to play. So we go up to one venue and we see that our name is not on the posters for all the bands that are playing at this venue. And honestly, at first, we thought that because we're the smallest band and there's hundreds and hundreds of bands that are playing, that potentially we're not going to be on this poster. But let's just go ask the venue owner if they've heard of us because we're like, it's still a little strange. So we go walk in, we go, hey, venue, we're Marina City. We're scheduled to play this venue at this day on this time. We don't see our name. We just want to check we're all good here. The guy goes, I haven't heard of you. We're like, what? No. Like, this guy, he booked us, Marina City, blah, blah, from Chicago. No, I don't know anything about you. Okay, that's strange. Go to the next venue. They haven't heard about us either. We call the guy. We're like, hey, dude, what's going on? Where are these gigs at? Oh, they're happening. I'm with the guy that I worked with to book these things. I'm gonna get down there tomorrow. Don't you worry. I'm driving down there. We'll get it. Something's super strange. Something's really fishy. So we're waiting for him to answer. We're getting really antsy. Turns out the car that he's supposed to be driving in is messed up and he can't get there, or something's going on now. Now we realize this guy just stole $1,400 from us for some reason. And in the grand scheme of things, $1,400 isn't like a ton of money. But for us, struggling artists who some of us were in college, I mean, it was a lot of money for us. And we were now really concerned. Like we were told we're going to get hotels. We were told that there's going to be backlighting. We were told that we were going to have all these different things. And now we're sleeping under the Bat Bridge, literally a bridge called the Bat Bridge. We're sleeping under that. We wake up the next morning and we go door to door to each venue. And we're like, hey, we got screwed over. Is there any way that we could play a showcase? We go busking on the streets. We're playing everywhere and anywhere that we can, trying to tell people about Marina City. We're putting up these posters. And we ended up getting 4 showcases on our own. We ended up playing one sold-out showcase that really helped us a lot. A famous singer, I don't feel like I can really mention those anymore. A famous singer that is big fall from grace at this point, helped us out though, and had us tell our story in front of their sold-out crowd. And they like took like a hat and whatever and a basket, and they put it around and like, hey, if you can donate money to them or help them out with food or whatever, that'd be great. We ended up making enough money from busking and from all these gigs and from the stuff like that we got back home. We booked our own tour for real this time, and we ended up recording a record, Chimera, and we had a song called the Alley Capital Masquerade, and that was about the company that screwed us over. So
also, because we had it in writing, we threatened to sue the guy, and then he paid us our money back.
So
have it in writing.
But we didn't have a contract. The only thing is that the guy only spoke with us via Facebook Messenger. And so I was like, hey, I was like really specific in what I was asking him. We're paying you $1,400 to book us these shows. We are wiring the money to you right now. Do you got the money? Yes. Bam, 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 bam. Funny about that, though, is that his dad was like a cop. And like we went and did sue him for like small claims court. And then I got a phone call. I think I was like in line to go see Fall Out Boy when they were coming back to Lincoln Hall or whatever. I get a call and the guy goes, is this Ryan? I'm like, yes, who's this? I'm da-da-da-da. And I want to speak to you. You're suing my son? I was like, do you know what your son did? And he's like, meet me at Dunkin' Donuts tomorrow at this time and I'll pay you. And I was like, the hell? So my parents came with me and we like just showed up in this parking lot of Dunkin' Donuts.
Showed up with a briefcase.
Yeah.
$1,400 in ones.
Yeah, he's like, and you're going to drop this case? It's like, I don't want to sue anybody. I just want our money back. So it happened. But anyways, with that said, it's going to be a lot different this time when we go down to South by Southwest, and we're a lot older. We figured out what's going on. And so how do we prepare for it this time? Well, we did actually sign a contract with these people that we're working with. And 2, the one thing that really did really well for us back then was busking and was promoting ourselves. So we're going to have these posters. I'm going to make these posters with all of our dates that we're playing. And I want to make them super abrasive and super loud and super like questioning. I'm like, when people look past it, it's not go see Marina City here. I don't know who the fuck Marina City is. I want them to go like, wait, what is this poster? This is really interesting. I see it everywhere and it's asking me a question. I'm gonna check it out. That's like my big thing is I want to draw you in rather than you keep walking by and just like, okay, Marina City, what does that have to do with me? We have a record called Simulation. And so my plan is I'm going to make these posters that are going to say, are we in a simulation or are we living in a simulation or whatever? And then grab one. And they're going to have like a little slit that you can grab where like dates that you can go find out what a simulation is or whatever the case is. And we're going to post those all over the place on poles and on walls and everything else. And they're going to be bright orange or bright green, whatever we decide to do, because those are unnatural colors and people's eyes just go look at it right away. And the sea of posters that are going to be at South by Southwest of bands saying, go see my band, I want ours to stick out like a sore thumb. And so when they see it, they go, oh, what's that weird green thing or weird orange thing? Safety orange or whatever. I'm going to go check that out. It's asking me a question. I'm interacting with it. And I'm eventually going to go check out what this band is because it intrigues me a little bit more than Marina City. Here's a photo of the band and some dates.
Yeah, it's kind of like taking a page out of the Warped Tour book.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I see this. It's just going to be a small little Warped Tour for us, you know, in terms of the promotional aspect, in terms of doing all those extra things to catch people's attention, especially today with everyone's attention being so short.
Right.
You know, you want to have those cool, bright, unique colors, you know, unique ways of engaging the audience or the bystander, you know.
I was asked when I was on The Voice, they said, is it weird for you to perform where the coaches are not looking at you and you have to turn a chair? And I was like, honestly, it's not that weird to me because I feel like most of Marina City's career or my career is doing that, is all these people who don't care about your band and trying to make them care. And whether it's a thing that we're putting up weird posters all around Austin, Texas that people are like interested and intrigued by, or it's putting on a set that if you're sitting at a bar and you're just drinking, you're not caring about whatever band's playing, that somehow, some way we're doing something that gets you intrigued enough to turn your chair around. Yeah. Be like, what is this band doing?
Or if you're the opening band on a tour, you know, so there's going to be the entire crowd that's there with their arms crossed being like, okay, what is this band? They're not the headliner. Why should I care? Your job is to get them to move around, to care.
Yeah.
Right? Sure, there's not a literal chair, but it's the same idea.
Yeah. I mean, I remember we were playing in Philadelphia and there was like the people all in the back of the bar. This was actually pretty recently, back in the bar, and during Runaways jumped off and like ran to them and jumped on their table and literally sang in front of them on their table. And they were like, wow, this is so cool, blah, blah. And then they eventually get up and they go actually check out what the band's doing. And we've played a lot of DIY. This is why this is the DIY podcast. We've played a lot of shows that people do not care about us. You have to make them care about you, grab their attention by some way and shape or form. So that is part of what, like, the other thing that I really want to do is we're busking, right? So I actually got a small speaker and it's literally wireless and can put the microphone and guitar in there and we'll just play a bunch of songs. The last time that we did it, we literally had Eric sitting on one side of the street playing drums and just like people like freaked out about his little drumsticks and he's like doing flips. And I was like, there was shit that like, I was like, I've never seen you do this. And he's like, look at this.
I've never seen you do that either.
Yeah, you're gonna yeah.
Yep.
If he's doing it, you'll see some wild stuff. And then I was on the other side just singing or whatever and just getting a crowd to surround you and be like, hey, this is the show, you know? The other thing too, like what I want to do is some content that I really want to do is that we have the new song coming out. I'm going to tell you guys right here, if you're listening to this podcast, it's called A Loaded Guilt Complex. And what I want to do is that people are like walking or whatever, I want to ask them, hey, do you want to listen to the song, blah, blah, and I want to get their like genuine reaction and like post it and stuff like that, that we can have a connection with people that are walking by. And then we can put some content. I
think that's going to be cool.
Yeah. And yeah. I don't know if I wanted to put a sign or we're just going to ask the people. I don't know exactly how I want to do it yet, but I do, like when we're on Friday, we have a down day and I just want to be like, hey, put these headphones on, listen to some of this, tell me what you think. And if it sucks, I'm still going to post it online. Then we get like someone that's like, this sucks or whatever. But either way, that's just the genuine reaction and it'll help with some TikTok views. And on top of that, it's connecting with the audience that are just walking by. Maybe they really like it. They want to go see us at that moment.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be super cool.
So we're going to take a little break here, and then we're going to talk. I'm going to take it away from Eric here, and he's going to talk about how we're really preparing for South by Southwest when we don't have the actual setup that we typically do. So Eric, start thinking about what you're going to say while I'm doing the ad read.
You didn't tell me.
Ad read. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Confessions of a DIY podcast. This is Confessions of a DIY Musician podcast, and our sponsors for this event is, yes, you guessed it, MarinaCityBand.com. go to marinacityband.com where you can get all of your gear for Marina City. Yes, we have this t-shirt that you guys are looking at right here. We got that sweater over there. We do not have this black t-shirt that Toto's wearing, but he was wearing a sweater earlier.
It's custom, baby.
It's custom. Yeah. We have trucker hats. We have a bunch of cool things, and every single order comes with a pin, some stickers, and some other goodies. So make sure you go to marinacityband.com and go check out something. Treat yourself. Every single dollar helps make this dream a reality. On top of that, when you go to marinacityband.com, you'll be able to see our tour dates. And we just mentioned that's the whole reason why you listen to this podcast is that we are going on tour. So by the time you listen to this podcast, make sure you go to marinacityband.com and check out if we are going to a city near you. You'll also see the Discord. It's a wonderful community of people all around the world that don't only just talk about Marina City, but everything from the album club where everyone posts about the new album that they're listening to and talk about the album. I'm going to make a new one about a TV show club or a movie club because we're really big TV show, movie club nerds. And I'd like to discuss Severance or discuss Yellow Jackets and some other stuff that I've been listening to with other people. There's a venting channel on there. So if there's something that you really need to get off your chest and you just need a safe space to talk about it, it's a venting channel. And then there's the gloating channel. If you have something that you're really proud about and you want to talk about it, go on there. So go to marinacityband.com, click on Discord, and be part of the community on there. And of course, the best way that you can learn about everything that's going on with Marina City is by joining our text line, which is 815-406-6209. That's 815-406-6209. Text us your name and your zip code, and we will add you to our text line. And anytime that we're coming to a city near you or any cool news about Marina City, you'll learn about it first than anyone else on that text line. Okay,
nice.
So we are back at it. Thank you.
Yeah. You deserve some props, man. That shit's hard.
Yeah, I don't even have my wife's phone number memorized. I don't
sounds like you're reading from a prompt, but I swear he's not.
Yeah, I'm not.
There's no prompt here.
There's no prompt. So the people that listen to the podcast, that's just coming off the straight old noggin. Eric.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so the big thing about the tour that we're going on, we're really focusing on South by Southwest in this podcast specifically because we are not able to bring our whole setup. And so, Eric, tell them about what our whole setup kind of is, and then tell them what we have to do in this specific time.
So our typical setup is pretty involved. We'll bring our own drums. We have our own keyboard. We have our own mics and cables for everything. And then it all feeds into this giant rack case that we wheel off stage. And it's a big mess, right? It's not really. It's actually a really clean, concise
if you're a venue
setup.
owner, or if you're a band that wants to take us on tour, it's actually not a mess at all.
It's honestly, it's not a mess at all.
It's just we hate it because it's super heavy. Lugging that thing around is terrible.
But to be fair, it is a lot of gear for a situation like South by Southwest where it's mostly relying on backline. So everyone is going to be sharing the same drum kit. All the amps and stuff are going to be backline. And they want you to do transitions really quickly.
And there's no parking.
I mean,
we literally, years ago, we parked a mile down.
Yeah.
And just walked all of our stuff with carts.
Yeah.
Through grass and gravel and street, people getting in your way.
Yeah. And I would bring a whole drum set, and it was stupid. It's a dumb kid. Anyways, but...
I'm buying a cart. I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah, no, we're definitely bringing our carts. But I don't know how many carts we're going to need because we're going to...
We honestly... So basically, my project for the past few months is to try and build a setup for our in-ears and our backing tracks that is just like, you can't say no to it. So whether, we're doing a fly date somewhere else, or whether we're playing South by Southwest, for example, or whether we're opening up like a 9-show bill and there's already 18 racks on stage.
Yeah.
The idea is just to have this as our small setup, and it makes sound guys happy, and it's a tiny footprint. So it does involve a little bit of cheating, quote unquote. So we're going to have to ditch the keyboard, so that won't be in the tracks. I'm going to have to ditch my drum pad, so that'll be in the tracks. But basically I've built this tiny rack, it's hiding behind Ryan right now. But instead of having 16 channels that go out to the house, which include all the drum kit, all this other gear, we're just really consolidating it down to 8. And to be honest, we could even consolidate it down further into 5 if we really needed to. So the idea is that we show up to the venue with just these 2 little boxes. I place them next to the drum kit. My laptop will be there running tracks. We'll be able to have everything in our ears. And then we're just going to send out vocals and the track lines and the guitars to the front of house, and they're just going to be like, cool, I can do this. This is only 5 to 8 lines. No problem. I can do that all day. So they don't have to, unpatch a billion things. We're not double miking a drum kit, all that craziness. So yeah.
I think it's important as a band to have many different versions of how you can perform your music, whether it's the full band and the whole kit and caboodle like we normally do, or it's something stripped down like Eric is building here for us, or even if it's even stripped down further with the acoustic or whatever. Mm-hmm. We have a podcast about making an acoustic version of your song, which you totally can go check that out. I think it's called Why Your Acoustic Version Sucks or something. So go check that out. But basically, it's important that you can fit in every venue and what their needs are.
Yeah, the idea is that you just want to be flexible. You don't want to be in a situation where you show up to a venue and you're like, oh, I can't play tonight. My gear's not going to work in this space, or so basically everything I've designed from our full stage production setup to this little mini guide to the way that we rehearse, it's just to have options where we can adapt to any of those situations and we're not caught off guard. If someone comes at us hard and they're like, this is too much gear, we can't accommodate you, then we have solutions.
Yeah. And on the side with like guitar stuff, I mean, when we first started as a band, I mean, the whole industry has really changed, but it was really funny that back in the day, everyone brought their, was it 6x12 bass cab, and they had these massive 6x12 amps and stuff like that. And now you show up at a venue and everyone has their big ass like rack mount instead. That's why we even have to make something smaller so that we can just put it on. But what have you done from the first time you were touring with us to now that is easier to fit in every venue? Talk a little bit about what your gear looks like now.
Yeah, pretty much the big difference is, simply said, I went from analog to digital. I used to have my little amp, which, by the way, it was actually little. It wasn't your typical 4x12. It was a 2x12, which, again, was still a lot to lug around. Now I have a Kemper stage, which is, I guess it's not the most portable Kemper because they have a Kemper player, which is literally like the size of, I don't know, 8x4 inches. It's very small. But this is just as small.
That's small?
I mean, it's like not just as small. It's definitely bigger than the Kemper or Kemper player, but I can fit that in my backpack. I can go into the studio with it. It's extremely versatile in terms of practicing or live performance. So it's been great. The only thing I do miss between the two is probably like the oomph of the tubes of the amp, which you can achieve it with the Kemper. You just have to turn it up a little bit more than usual to like kind of feel it in your chest. But yeah, it's great. I just show up to a show with a backpack with my Kemper inside, and then one guitar in one hand, the other guitar, my backup guitar in the other hand. And that's really my footprint.
And what's great about your setup specifically is that whether or not we're doing South by Southwest or we're doing a big venue that we can bring everything, you're not doing anything different.
No.
You can bring your entire, you lose no sound quality because you're able to move around very easily in every single venue that we do. Yeah,
it's literally probably for 98% of the venues, it should be good to go. And there's only small exceptions if maybe the venue PA speakers aren't they're not quality enough to bring out the sound of the Kemper, which in that case, if they want me to play through an amp, I would, since I have the Kemper stage, it's not a powered unit, so I would need to have a power pedal, which I think I forgot which company makes them, but it's called the Magnum 44. And I actually have that pedal at home. I just never used it. I just have it in case I do need to go through an amp, because this doesn't power an amp. It doesn't power the cabinet to an amp. Whereas the rack, whereas the Kemper, I know there's a lot of terminology here, but the Kemper rack, where that differs is it's a powered rack. So you can actually plug that into an amp and use it as a guitar head.
You might actually want to bring that for South by, because I know that there's a cab that they want everyone to use, and I think it's like a Fender Twin, the typical thing that you see all the time. But I mean, I'm sure we can probably go through the mains, but just something in the background. I'll
definitely bring the rack, because I said like I have the pedal to have the profiler working, but I've never used it, and I feel much better and much more safe with the Kemper rack there, because it's just plug and play.
We are getting closer to our 30-minute mark, and there's still a lot that I want to talk about preparing for tour. So I think this podcast is going to be preparing for South by Southwest, and then we'll do a separate podcast specifically about more tour. So there's going to be a semi part 2, if you will. But what I do want to say a couple things about preparing for something like this in general, not just South by Southwest. Preparing for the unexpected, and doing so is how can you make your system as easy to be moved, to be loaded in, to not take up as much footprint, to be able to walk 3 miles from the car to the venue if you need to. How can you be as flexible as possible without losing your sound? Now, that may be spending a lot of money on stuff, and I mean, to be frank, like it sounds like this was overnight that we got these things, but Eric's been working on that small mixer for what, 2 years?
I mean, yeah, basically.
Maybe even longer. And I mean, you've been upgrading for it's tons of stuff.
It's definitely a process. But the good news is once you do it and once you got your everything, dialed in, you're good to go for a while. Unless there's like some major jump in technology and you're like, oh, I need that. And then, you spend more money.
This is something that,
again, it's an investment.
It's about future proofing and just like, to me, it's also just about understanding your gear and the limitations of your gear, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier to have less things and to just be like a quote unquote real band and throw your guitars on stage and just use a backline. You know, that's fine too. But
Totally.
But at some point you want to expand and you want to know what is going to do what. What's the most efficient way to do what you want.
So if you have any questions on some of the gear that we used for these things, please reach out, thecrush@marinacityband.com. You are, thecrush@marinacityband.com. That's our email for this. You can reach out if you're like, hey, what was that Kemper that he was using? What was that mixer that he was using? We're happy to help you guys in anything that you guys do while you guys are going on your tour. The big thing with South by Southwest in any kind of festival where a bunch of people are playing is how do you stand out and how do you make everyone else's jobs as easy as possible? And that is standing out by making other people's jobs easy as possible. When we were on Warped Tour, we were able to be bumped up 2 or 3 times to bigger stages, specifically because the crew loved us so much by how easy we were to work with and just our performances that they wanted to reward us by pushing us up. And so that is standing out. Professionalism is standing out. It's not always just about like, oh, this guy looks super cool or the song's really cool or whatever. By standing out, by being polite, by making everyone else's job as easy as possible, that can get you into other doors that potentially you didn't think you could get into. So we are going to South by Southwest March 13th through the 15th. We are playing Nashville on the March 16th, and we have a plethora of other dates that we are playing in April, May, and soon to be announced more dates. So go to marinacityband.com, text us at 815-406-6209, or go ahead and email us at thecrush@marinacityband.com. This has been another episode of Confessions of a DIY Musician. For Eric, for Toter, I'm Ryan, and we will see you guys next time.
Catch you
Adios.
later. Peace.